This is a part two or like an update based on the video that I posted 2 months ago titled I grew up in an abusive household and I still live there. That's this video over here. So you should definitely pause, go and watch that video to get the context of what I'm going to be talking about. Otherwise, this video is not going to make any sense to you. Editing Jamie here. I will be popping up throughout the video just to clarify a few things because as I was editing, I realized I am in fact processing years of trauma in real time. And that means I don't always get my point across as perfectly as I intend to. So I'll be sprinkled in here and there just to add some clarity. Thank you for understanding. Okay, so I thought I was going to make this follow-up video maybe 2 weeks after I posted that video. Honestly, I was at rock bottom when I posted that video and I didn't think that I could go any lower, but I got sucked into the deepest depression. I hardly went outside over the past 2 months. I hardly socialized. I have been grieving my old life and been trying to figure everything out with how I'm going to move forward. Yeah, it's been hard. It's been really hard because I am in this limbo phase, right? Where I am so mentally and energetically removed from the life that I talked about in that video, but physically I still live in the house that I was traumatized in. So it feels extremely frustrating and debilitating because I'm still here, right? Like I still live here. What I meant by that is I am mentally checked out. I mentioned in the video that I'm done. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. I don't have the energy to put up with it. So as much as I still live here, physically I'm dealing with the same shit every day, but mentally I am preparing for my life outside of this house. I'm working on my savings. I'm focusing on budgeting, planning where I'm going to live, what my life is going to look like, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm trying to move on with my life. Finally today gathered enough energy to talk about my reflections and my experience after talking so personally about the truth about my life and where I'm at with my healing. First of all, I have to say I am so thankful for people who reached out to me via DM, message, phone call, people that I saw in person who gave me hugs and love and words of encouragement and kindness, and who told me that they resonated with my story and shared their own stories. I honestly wasn't expecting it because I posted that video at a time where I felt very alone. I really wasn't expecting there to be so many people who understood the situation that I was in. It was honestly simultaneously shocking and not shocking at all because the generation before us is definitely a children are meant to be seen and not heard because I said so. We don't talk about our issues. We don't deal with our shit. We don't believe in therapy. We push everything under the rug. We cause pain and treat our kids very harshly and abusively without thinking about the consequences of their actions. And further than that, not taking accountability for the pain and the trauma that they put their children through. It's very clear to me after the response that I got how big of an issue it actually is and how common it is. And it makes me really sad because I think that this thing of respect your elders and honor your mother and your father and all of that is bullshit if respect is not mutual. It's never honor your children. It's never respect your children. It's never treat your children as human beings and accept them and love them for who they are. I don't think parents realize this when they have children, that it is their responsibility to nurture the essence of who their child already is. It's not about shaping them and molding them and hitting them and verbally abusing them into this idealized version of what they want their children to be. I don't think that gets talked about enough, and that makes me really sad. Of course, this doesn't apply to every single parent. There are exceptions where there are fantastic parents who will have done a wonderful job raising their kids. They were loving and caring and kind and provided in all of the right ways. This is in response to the number of people who shared similar stories to mine, who shared worse stories than mine, and it opened my eyes to how common and how serious of an issue this really is. I plan to make videos that are solely based on those specific topics because I do think there's a bigger conversation to be had, and I would like to advocate for people who have gone through or are going through something similar to me because it's necessary. As I mentioned in that video, I had reached my breaking point. It was life or death for me to speak my truth out loud and to talk about the pain that I have been carrying for 28 years. I was just done. I made that video as a declaration of my freedom, as a release of that life, of that narrative that is not my story moving forward. That is not the life that I'm meant to be living. I am destined for peace, for happiness, for love and joy. And in order for me to reach that part of my life, I needed to make that video, address all of the pain, label it and say it out loud. This is what I have experienced. This is what I've gone through. And I am letting it go because that pain is going to kill me. So when I made that video, I felt so relieved because I'd been carrying so much for so long. I plucked up enough courage that actually got me to the point to verbalizing my pain. I wasn't going to be carrying this alone or carrying it forever because I had put a stop to it. I knew that posting the video was going to cause some kind of controversy or get some kind of backlash, especially from people that I know. So I was scared to post it. I had a lot of anxiety about posting it as well. But besides the response that I got from so many people who were showing me love and kindness and support, on the flip side, the response that I got from my own family confirmed everything that I said in my video. Even though I expected it, it was heartbreaking to get that clarity. First of all, I'll talk about the response from my mother just to get that out of the way. This is a trigger warning that the incident that I'm about to talk about contains elements of physical violence involving a knife. If you don't have the capacity to watch that, then you can just skip to this timestamp over here. I knew that when I posted the video, I was going to deal with hell on earth because I was finally telling the truth about my life. So I'm not sure if my mother watched the whole video or if she just watched bits and pieces or if she was getting information about it from other people who had watched the video. But a few days after I posted it, I went down to the kitchen to make some food and then I was gonna come right back and eat it in my room, as I mentioned in my video. That's what I do. So I went into the kitchen. My mother was in the kitchen and she was cooking herself. She was cutting up veggies or something. And I went into the kitchen, minding my own business, just to do what I needed to do and get the fuck out of there because I obviously didn't want to be in her presence. But what ended up happening was my mother was mumbling under her breath as she was shopping, and then she was getting riled up and talking louder and louder, directed at me, obviously. And another thing, you didn't tell him how you're wasting your life, and just going on and on and on about different things. She ends up coming over to me with a knife still in her hand and talking to me, pointing the knife in my face. And I start screaming. I say, "Get the fuck away from me." And she's cornering me with the knife. I start crying and screaming. And then my daddy comes into the kitchen and intervenes in that situation. Now, I know that this sounds scary and triggering probably for a lot of people. This is just something that I unfortunately am used to. So yes, fucking was scary. Should probably report it to the police when situations like this happen. My mother needs professional help. That is the only thing that's gonna actually make a difference. Her inability to deal with her own life, her own pain, her own childhood trauma is her responsibility. I'm not going to be dealing with her shit because she can't deal with her own shit. I cannot be responsible for everybody else's pain and everybody else's inability to heal. I want a better life. I want a better, more peaceful, more loving, more. I deserve more. But to be completely fucking honest, I just want to get out of the house. That's all. Like, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. You see, I'm fucking over it. Anyway, in that moment, on that day, I decided that that was my last straw with her. I never spoke to her again after that day. That was 2 months ago. I don't speak to her. I keep my head down. I try to move in a way that protects my energy and my peace. And I have no respect for her. I have no time for her. I have no energy for her. I want absolutely nothing to do with her. I am leaving her in the past with her unhealed spirit, deal with that on her own, and I will move on with my life and leave all of this in the past. So that's an update on that. In terms of my sisters, as I mentioned in the video, my sisters have been out of the house for many years. I was 12 when my second sister left, and I'm 28 now. So that is 16 years more abuse than what my sisters experienced. And I'm not mentioning this because it's a competition and I'm trying to compare levels of abuse. But the truth is, for them to have perceived me and still have this perception of me that I am a princess and a spoiled child who didn't experience any abuse, for them to write off my life experience as if they know anything about it, has really caused me a lot of pain, especially as I've gotten older, because I realized, and I've come to realize, especially after posting this video, that they do not give a fuck about me. They don't care. They care very deeply about each other, apparently. They've got their sisterly bond going on, dynamic duo vibe that is very much them experiencing their life outside of me and this household. And you know what? I have learned a very long time ago to not expect anything from people who don't have the emotional intelligence and the capacity to think about anyone other than themselves. And so I wish them well. I wish them all the best. I'm happy for them that they were able to build a life outside of our turbulent childhood or their turbulent childhood. This is just my life. But I have just been so generous with my love and my care, just pouring into those relationships that clearly are not reciprocal. Because as I mentioned in the video, they would come over for family gatherings and for the good time thing. And when I absolutely needed them the most, when I was in the pits of hell, when I was getting beat up, and when I had to lock myself in my room, and when I was crying myself to sleep, and when they thought I ran away from home for fun, when I needed refuge. I just came to realize that blood is not thicker than water. People have the same DNA as you, and that automatically meaning that they will have your back, or that they will love you and care about you and, I don't know, be there for you in your time of need. That means absolute fuck all. What had happened was, one of my sisters is so caught up in her own life and so out of touch with me and what's been going on in this house. She's never in communication, and when she is, she might as well not be. I don't even know how to explain that. She thinks that me protecting my peace is me causing drama. And so I honestly have nothing to say to her. I have, for the final straw, given her my energy and my love, and I wish her well. My other sister sent me a legal threat. She apparently watched the video and thought that it was unlawful that I spoke about her and the things that she did without her consent, telling me that she can take matters further. Basically, that she would sue me for defamation, is what she was saying. Now, she said that she wanted to make it explicitly clear that she wasn't saying that she would sue me, but that she would take legal action against me for speaking about her. She thought about that just a little bit more, and just a quick Google search will tell you that those two things mean the exact same thing. So the words don't actually matter. It is the intention and the principle of the thing, which is that instead of asking me if I'm okay, instead of offering love and support and care or anything that a sister should do under the circumstances of, your sister making a video like that, saying that she's in pain, that she's been considering ending her life, all of those things. Instead of asking how they are, you rather send a legal threat against them or a warning of intimidation. Don't talk about what you're going through, basically. So my sister basically sent me a legal warning, threatening action for what I shared in the video. And it was clear that her priority was how she was being perceived in a video that wasn't really about her, more than about my well-being. In fact, she didn't ask anything related to my well-being at all. And that clarity gave me the final push that I needed to let go of that relationship, because as I said, I am being extremely intentional and careful about the people that I surround myself with. I do not care who you are, if you are family, friend, acquaintance, whoever. I cannot have toxic relationships in my life moving forward, and actions have consequences, and this is my boundary. You also don't need permission to tell the truth about your own life. It's called freedom of speech. For years, excused their behavior of spending time together and excluding me and only coming here for a good time and for family gatherings and not being here when I needed them the most. I excused them negating my whole life experience of being fucking abused. It is the people closest to you that will hurt you the most, in my case anyway. So I have finally let go of the idea of this kumbaya family that is just never going to happen. And honestly, I'm at peace with that. I wish them all the best, sending so much love. I wish them luck for their lives. I wish them peace. I wish them joy and happiness. I hope that they have a wonderful life. I will be popping up quite a few times in this section because it's important to me that I express the nuance and complexity of my relationship with my dad. It is impossible to shrink 28 years of life experience into one video, and I tried my best, but even then, people were complaining that my video was too long. The truth is, and I said this in my video, that I had a lot more to unpack, and my relationship with my dad really deserved a whole video on its own. But for now, this section is dedicated to him. My father, who I didn't mention almost at all in my video because the video wasn't about him, for some reason got a lot of backlash and unnecessary hateful comments from people who I guess work with him and people who know him, who watch my videos. A lot of people apparently thought he was lying to them when he talked about mine and his relationship, which is interesting because I didn't mention mine and his relationship in my video. I was actually planning to make a whole separate video just on my dad alone because I felt like he deserved a dedicated video. The truth is, I probably would not be alive if not for that man. I'm not saying that he is perfect. He's not a perfect human being. But a lot of my favorite things about myself came directly from that man. Okay, compassion, my empathy, my ability to connect with people from all walks of life, my resourcefulness, my ability to problem solve, my sense of humor. There are so many things that I love about life because of my dad. I want to clarify, I'm mentioning these things because I obviously don't want people to think that I experienced life just with my mother and that my father was absent. If that's how it came across in that video, both my parents were present in my life. I obviously explained my experience with my mother, and this is my experience with my father. However, because the things that I'm saying about my dad now are all positive things, it doesn't erase the pain and the trauma and the abuse that I experienced at the hands of my mother. I just wanted to make that clear. I didn't think to say that for people to not hate on him. And it just goes to show you that a lot of the time, people will just jump to conclusions and make up their own stories. It caused a huge issue with my dad because I was so angry that even he was more concerned about how he was being perceived than about the content of the video and what I was going through. The reason why I was upset is that my father has been here and experiencing the same abuse that I have been experiencing. It has been relentless for my whole life, and I thought that he, of all people, would understand why I posted the video and said what I said. I realize now that I should have clarified at least that he never abused me. My father never abused me. The abuse and the trauma and the pain came solely from my mother. That conflict actually opened up a whole conversation with my father because my anger about that situation was coming from a much deeper place. And I had to sit with that and I had to think about it. And what I realized is that I had so much unaddressed resentment towards my dad for not protecting me from my mother in the way that I really wanted him to. I begged him for years to take me out of this house, to leave my mother, and just the two of us, me and him, could go and live our lives and be happy. But he didn't do that. And I harbored resentment for him that I didn't actually realize that I did until I posted the video. It's extremely delicate and nuanced, right? Because of course, it is a parent's job to protect their child. Bottom line, I have complicated feelings of resentment towards my dad because he didn't protect me in the way that I wanted him to. However, when I put myself in my dad's shoes, just human experience to human experience, he is a victim of abuse too. He is experiencing his own level of pain and trauma too. And that is something to be acknowledged and to be taken into consideration. It's not so easy. It's not so easy to just up and leave. And honestly, I think I would have resented my father even more if he abandoned me, which I'm so thankful that he didn't do because a lot of men will run out on their families for a easier life, whereas my father didn't run away from me. He didn't abandon me. He stayed with me and he endured the same level of pain and trauma and abuse that I have. And I think there's something to be said about that because if you think about domestic violence cases, if there was a whole case that had to happen, my mother really, I believe, would have manipulated her way into getting full custody of me anyway. And that would have been the worst situation that I could have landed up in. So, all in all, I wish that my father would have handled things a little bit differently. But ultimately, I understand why he made the choices he made, and I'm very grateful for that. We talked about it openly and honestly. He apologized to me and took full accountability for his actions. and I forgave him. Honestly, I could not love that man more. When I tell you that we are very in sync with how we think, our humor is the same, some of my happiest memories were created by him. I understand what love is supposed to feel like because of him, not because of my mother. My dad gave me moments of peace and love and joy, pockets of positivity under the circumstances of living in this house with my mother. It is incredibly difficult to explain if you haven't experienced somebody like this, if you haven't had experience with a narcissist who dictates the mood, the energy, the whole operation of the house and the people around them. It's just all about manipulating situations and manipulating people to be at your beck and call and to do what you want them to do. And my dad and I, if we had a moment of like, he made a joke and I laughed at the joke, and then we were laughing for like 10 seconds too long, then my mother would come in and she would immediately start shouting either at me or at him. It would be like, why are you happy? Why are you laughing? You're supposed to be miserable and sad, and I'm gonna make your life hell now because you laughed. I don't know how to explain it. She will walk into a room and suck the life out of it. And my dad and I are extremely close. We are able to connect on our shared experience of living in this house and dealing with my mother. I don't know how else to explain it. I hope I'm making sense. All of the goodness that life has to offer, all of the good things that I've experienced, all of the happiness, creativity, my love for arts and culture and music is the part of me that was gifted to me by my father. And you could judge him and say, well, why didn't you take her away? And why didn't you protect her from your wife or whatever? If I woke up one day and the person that I chose to spend the rest of my life with turned out to be a fucking narcissist, a narcissistic abuser at that. That would be incredibly difficult and complicated realization to deal with. And that is not my battle. Okay. That is a whole other level of pain and trauma that he has to deal with. And at 28 years old, I can now separate that from mine and his relationship. As I said in my video, I can understand why hurt people, but I don't think and I don't believe that it excuses your behavior if you don't take accountability for it. And my dad takes full accountability for everything that he's done. And I have to honor that, and I'm very grateful for it. This journey that I'm on is about living in my authenticity, living my truth, speaking honestly about who I am, and making peace with who I am. It's hard, it's a lot of work, it's painful, it's exhausting, but I am so ready to let this part of my story go. I finally understand saying no, cutting people off who cause you harm and pain, even if they have the same DNA as you, is only the deepest level of self respect. I would rather be alone and peaceful than play along in a pretend family situation. It's just not happening anymore. I wish everyone well, send them off with love and care. I hope that they are happy in whatever they end up doing. Of course, I am still living in the same place that hurt me. It's been really difficult to try and heal through that, but I'm doing my best. It's not going to be forever because my legacy is not in this room, in this house. I am going to live a beautiful, full, amazing life. It's just a matter of time before I get there. I will be using my voice. I am recognizing the power in my voice. I am recognizing the power in my spirit, I will use that to hopefully help other people who have gone through or are going through something similar. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll be back.